the game that never ends. Leo was always drawn to horror games. To him, there was something exhilarating about exploring dark, haunted worlds from the safety of his room. It was his escape from reality, a way to feel in control of his fears. But that changed the night he installed Shattered Abyss, a game he stumbled upon in an obscure forum. The download page looked amateur, with cryptic descriptions and warnings about immersion beyond comprehension. Leo thought it was a marketing gimmick. He was wrong. The first night, the game began simply enough. A character wandering through an abandoned asylum. The graphics were stunningly realistic, every creak of the wooden floors and whisper of wind in the halls sending shivers down his spine. As Leo played, he noticed something strange. The game seemed to anticipate his actions. When he hesitated at a dark hallway, a voice would whisper through his headphones, "Go on, don't be afraid," chalking it up to advanced programming. He continued deeper into the asylum. Suddenly, the screen glitched, and his character stopped responding to the controls. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Then, without warning, a skeletal hand reached out from the screen and grabbed his wrist. Leo screamed, but it was too late. His room melted away, and he felt himself being dragged into darkness. Years in the abyss. When Leo woke up, he wasn't in his room. He was in the game. The asylum was no longer a digital creation. It was tangible. The air was damp and cold, and the smell of decay clung to everything. He could feel the texture of the cracked tiles under his feet and hear distant, inhuman wails echoing through the corridors. He quickly realized this wasn't a game anymore. There was no pause button, no way to quit. Every door he opened revealed new horrors, shadowy figures that stalked him, rooms that rearranged themselves, and puzzles that seemed designed to drive him mad. Time lost all meaning in the abyss. The worst part was the whispers. They were always there, speaking directly into his mind. "You belong here, Leo," they taunted. "There's no escape." At first, he tried to fight back, solving the puzzles and avoiding the creatures. But the game's rules were cruel. Each time he died, he would wake up at the beginning of the asylum, memories of his previous attempts intact. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years. He started to forget his old life, what his room looked like, the faces of his friends and family. The asylum became his reality. The exit. One day, after what felt like decades, Leo stumbled upon a room he had never seen before. In its center was a glowing mirror. The whispers grew louder, panicked. "Don't touch it. Stay here with us." Desperate, Leo ignored them and reached out to the mirror. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the asylum dissolved around him, and he was back in his room. The return. Leo gasped, clutching his desk for support. The clock on his computer showed it had only been a few hours since he started the game. But to him it had been years. His reflection in the monitor looked older. His eyes sunken, his beard patchy. He staggered to the window and looked outside. Everything seemed normal, the same street, the same buildings. But something felt off. He heard a knock at the door and froze. It was a simple sound, but it sent a wave of terror through him. Was this real? Was he still in the game? The knock came again, louder this time. Leo hesitated, then opened the door. There was no one there, only a package on the floor. Inside was a handwritten note. "Welcome back, player. Did you really think it was over?" Leo slammed the door shut, his heart racing. He turned back to his computer, but the screen was off, the game uninstalled. Yet, when he walked into his bathroom and glanced in the mirror, he saw the asylum behind him, a hallway stretching endlessly into darkness. The whispers returned, faint but unmistakable. You can never leave. The aftermath. From that day on, Leo couldn't trust anything. He stopped going outside, convinced the world was just another layer of the game. Every creak of his apartment, every shadow in the corner of his eye, felt like a piece of the asylum bleeding into his reality. His friends tried to visit, but he wouldn't answer the door. The few times he ventured online, he would search for the forum where he found Shattered Abyss. But it was gone. No trace of the game or the website. Months passed, and Leo's paranoia grew. Was the delivery man real? Was his neighbor? Sometimes he would wake up in his bed, only to find himself back in the asylum moments later. The walls closing in. The final twist. One night, as he sat in his dimly lit room, Leo heard the whispers again, louder than ever. This time they weren't taunting him. They were laughing. His computer turned on by itself, and the title screen of Shattered Abyss appeared. But there was no new game or continue. There was only one option: play forever. The screen flickered, and Leo felt the familiar skeletal hand grip his wrist. He didn't even scream this time. When his friends broke into his apartment weeks later, they found it empty. The computer was gone, the room covered in strange, glowing symbols. And somewhere, deep in the abyss, Leo woke up again, the whispers greeting him like old friends. For him, the game had truly become his life, and he could never escape.